Let the myth, then, be recounted as briefly as possible, with the most useless and superfluous elements removed. They say that when Nut secretly had intercourse with Geb, the Ra, upon becoming aware of it, laid a curse upon her, that she should not give birth in any month or any year. But Thoth, being in love with the goddess, came together with her, and later, playing a game of draughts with the Khonsu, he won from her the 72nd part of each of her periods of illumination. From all these winnings he assembled 5 days and added them to the 360 days of the year. These the Egyptians even now call the added days, and they celebrate them as the birthdays of the gods. On the first of these days Osiris was born, and at the moment of his birth a voice rang out saying, "The Lord of all advances to the light." Some say that a certain Pamales, while drawing water at Thebes from the temple of Amun, heard a voice ordering him to shout aloud that the great king and benefactor Osiris has been born. Because of this, Geb entrusted the child Osiris to him to raise. The festival of the Pamilia is celebrated in his honor, and it resembles the phallic festivals. On the second of the added days, Horus the elder was born, whom some call Horus, and also the elder Horus. On the third day Set was born, not at the right time, nor in the proper way, but he broke through his mother's side with a blow and leapt out. On the fourth day Isis was born in the regions that are ever moist. And on the fifth, Nephthys was born, whom they call also Finality, Aphrodite, and some even Victory. They say that Osiris and Horus the elder were born from the Ra, Isis from Thoth, and Set and Nephthys from Geb. Because of this, the kings consider the third of the added days, the birthday of Set, to be inauspicious, and neither conduct business nor tend to their bodies until nightfall. Nephthys became the wife of Set, but Isis and Osiris, being in love with one another, came together even before they were born, in the darkness of the womb. Some say that Horus the elder was also born from this union, and that he is called the elder Horus by the Egyptians and Horus by the Greeks. While Osiris was king, he immediately freed the Egyptians from their primitive and savage life. He showed them how to cultivate crops, gave them laws, and taught them to honor the gods. Later he traveled through the whole world, civilizing it, not by force of arms but by persuasion, enchanting people with speech, music, and song. For this reason the Greeks believed he was the same as Dionysus. As for Set, while he was away, he attempted nothing new, since Isis was watchfully protective. And Isis, exercising careful watchfulness, Set upon his return devised a plot, having made 72 men as oath-bound conspirators, and enlisting as an accomplice a queen from Ethiopia, who was present and whom they call Aso. As for Osiris, Set, having secretly measured the body, and having constructed a beautiful chest to that size, richly decorated, brought it into the banquet. And when they were delighted by its appearance and marveled at it, Set promised, playfully, that whoever, upon lying down inside, fit exactly, he would give the chest to him as a gift. And when all tried, one by one, since no one fit, Osiris entered and lay down. Then the conspirators rushed in, slammed shut the lid, fastened it from outside with nails, and some poured hot lead over it. They carried it to the river and cast it into the sea through the Tanitic mouth of the Nile, which for that reason the Egyptians still to this day, the Tanitic mouth of the Nile, hated and abominable. They say these things happened on the 17th of the month Hathor, during which the sun passes through Scorpio, in the 28th year of Osiris's reign. Some, however, say that he lived that long, but did not rule for so long a time. And first of those inhabiting the region around Chemmis, Pan and the satyrs, perceiving the misfortune and spreading news of what had happened, caused the sudden disturbances and fears of the crowds, which even now are for this reason called panics. Isis, upon realizing what had occurred, there cut off one of her locks and took on mourning dress, and the city, even now, bears the name Koptos. Others, however, think the name means privation, since to deprive, they say, is to cut off. and as she wandered everywhere in distress, she approached no one without speaking. Having encountered some children, she asked them about the chest. They happened to have seen it and pointed out the mouth of the river through which Set's friends had cast the vessel into the sea. From this, the Egyptians believed that children possess prophetic power, and especially they draw omens from the cries of children at play. In temples they, children, utter whatever comes to them. Isis, realizing Osiris, out of mistaken identity, had lain with her sister, Nephthys, in love, and seeing proof in the garland he had left with her, began searching for the child. For Nephthys had exposed it at birth out of fear of Set. And the child was found with difficulty, Isis being led by dogs. It was raised and became her guardian and follower, named Anubis, and is said to guard the gods just as dogs guard humans. And from this she learned about the chest, that it had been washed ashore by the sea onto the land of Byblos. The sea gently brought the chest against a certain tamarisk tree, which soon grew into the most beautiful and large shoot, embracing, enclosing, and hiding it within itself. The king, amazed at the plant's size, cut the trunk, which unknowingly contained the chest, and set it up as a pillar to support his palace roof. They say that Isis, informed of these events by a divine breath of rumor, arrived in Byblos and sat beside a spring, humble and tearful, speaking to no one, except to the queens. She greeted and kindly engaged with the handmaidens, braiding their hair and causing a wondrous fragrance to breathe from her skin. When the queen saw her handmaids, she developed a longing for the stranger, for her hair and skin exhaled a fragrance like ambrosia. Thus Isis was summoned and, having become familiar, was appointed as nurse to the child. They say the king's name was Melkarth. The queen, some called Astarte, the one whom certain Greeks would refer to as Athena, and Isis nourished the child, giving him her finger in place of the breast. By night she burned away the mortal parts of his body. She herself, having become a swallow, flew around the column and mourned, until the queen, who had been watching secretly and cried out when she saw the infant engulfed in fire, deprived it of immortality. The goddess then revealed herself and asked for the pillar of the roof, and having taken it down, she easily cut through the tamarisk, and then having wrapped the wood in linen and poured perfume upon it, she gave it to the royal couple. And even now the people of Byblos honor the piece of wood that lies in the temple of Isis. She fell upon the coffin and wailed so terribly that the younger son of the king died. Taking the elder child with her and placing the coffin on board a ship, she set sail. But when a rough wind from the river Adonis blew against her, she became angry and dried up the stream. When she had gone a little farther and reached a solitary place, being alone, she opened the chest and placed her face upon his, kissing him and weeping. A child, who had silently followed and watched, was seen by her, and turning, she looked at him with terrible wrath. The child could not endure the fear and died. But others say it was not so, but that he had previously fallen into the sea, and that he is honored with sacred rites. Because of the goddess. For the one whom the Egyptians sing of at banquets as Maneros, this is he. Some say the boy was named Pelosion, and that the city named for him was founded by the goddess. Others relate that Maneros, the one sung of, was the first to discover music. Still others say there was no such person at all, but that it is a phrase people use while drinking and celebrating. May such things be fitting, which they say is what Maneros means, and this is what Egyptians always shout, just as, indeed, the image of the dead man in the chest carried around before them is not a simple memorial. Set tore the body of Osiris into 14 parts. Isis, upon learning this, began searching, sailing through the marshes in a papyrus boat. For this reason, those who sail in papyrus boats are not harmed by crocodiles, either because they fear or revere the goddess. From this, it is said that there are many tombs of Osiris in Egypt, since she made burials wherever she found each part. But others say this is not true, and that she made images and distributed them to each city, pretending to give the body, so that Osiris might receive honors from more people, even if Set should ever triumph over Horus. While searching for the true tomb, Isis became overwhelmed by the many that were claimed and pointed out. Of all the parts of Osiris, only his phallus she could not find, for it had at once been thrown into the river and eaten by the lepidotous fish, which are considered the most sacred or taboo among all fish. So Isis made a model of it in place of the original and consecrated the phallus, which the Egyptians continue to celebrate in ritual festivals to this day. Then Osiris came from Hades to Horus to train and prepare him for battle. He asked him what he considered the most noble thing. Horus replied, "To avenge one's father and mother who have been wronged." Next, he asked which animal is most useful for those going into battle. When Horus answered, "The horse," Osiris was astonished and puzzled. "Why not the lion instead of the horse?" Horus answered, "The lion is useful to someone who needs help, but the horse chases down and destroys the fleeing enemy." Osiris rejoiced, seeing that Horus had prepared himself well. It is said that, as many people shifted allegiance to Horus, even Set's concubine, the Weris, came over. A serpent pursued her, but it was cut down by Horus's men, and even now, because of this, people throw a rope into their midst and strike it. The battle then lasted many days, and Horus was victorious. But when Isis captured Set in chains, she did not kill him. Instead, she released and freed him. Horus could not bear this calmly, and leapt upon her. Horus tore the royal diadem from his mother Isis's head. Thoth then placed a bull's head helmet upon her. Set accused Horus of being illegitimate, but Thoth came to his defense, and the gods judged Horus to be the true son. Set was later defeated in many more battles. After Osiris's death, Isis joined with him and gave birth to Harpocrates, a child prematurely born and weak in his lower limbs. These are more or less the main points of the myth, with the most disgraceful parts left out, such as the dismemberment of Horus and the beheading of Isis. Now, if people claim these things truly happened to a blessed and incorruptible divine nature, the sort in which we usually conceive divinity, well, then one ought to spit and purify their mouth, as Aeschylus says. I do not need to say anything more to you, for you already find such lawless and barbarous ideas about the gods offensive. But these stories do not appear to be entirely idle myths or empty fables. Poets and storytellers, like spiders, spin from themselves thread-like beginnings without foundation, weaving and stretching them out. But this myth contains certain perplexities and narratives of emotional states. You recognize this. And just as mathematicians say that the rainbow is a reflection of the sun, variegated by the eye's reflection against a cloud, so too this myth is a reflection, an image, of a deeper rational principle, redirecting the mind towards something else. This is hinted at by the sacrifices that carry a mournful and somber tone, and by the temple structures, some of which are extended into wings. The temples contain both open and clear passageways, and also hidden and shadowy underground chambers, adorned like tombs or sanctuaries. Most noteworthy is the belief associated with the Osirea, that the body of Osiris is said to lie in many places, for some say that Thinis is the only city that truly holds his actual body. In Abydos, the wealthiest and noblest of Egyptians strive to be buried so that they may lie alongside Osiris. In Memphis, the Apis bull is kept and honored as an image of Osiris's soul, and they say his body lies there as well. Some interpret the city's name as meaning harbor of blessings, others as tomb. There is a small island near the gates, believed to hold the tomb of Osiris, which is otherwise completely inaccessible and forbidden to all. No birds are allowed to fly over it, nor do fish swim near it. Only at one specific time do the priests cross over to the island to perform sacred funeral rites and place a crown upon the tomb, which is shaded by a myrtle tree surpassing every olive tree in height.